What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Before we start, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content. Alright guys, let's get into the first post. What is the creepiest, most blood chilling thing you or someone you know have ever experienced? About 10 years ago, I took my dog out for a short walk. We lived in a rundown, but historic part of town, old houses that are either beautifully maintained, abandoned, or generally going to shit. There was a good mix of people in that neighborhood. Anyway, walking the dog, I get about 3 or 4 houses down and stop at the corner while Pony sniffs some grass or whatever. I turn around and suddenly there is a man standing way too close to me. No idea where he came from. I'm usually very aware of my surroundings and Pony hated strange men. I stumbled a few steps back. I immediately had this absolute bone-chilling sick feeling. He asked me, "Is that a pit bull?" And I replied yes. Then he said, "Oh, she'll protect you." At this point, my body flooded with adrenaline, and I turned to run back to my house. I saw my mom standing on the porch and thought to yell to her. She had no reason to come out on the porch. I honestly think she had a bad feeling. I don't know what good me yelling really did, but it was all I could think to do. Like, "Hey, look, I'm over here." I've never had such a flight response before, or since that encounter. When I was 16, my parents went out of town for a weekend. It was actually pretty sweet, because I got to be king of the castle for the weekend. So I get home that Friday night and just stick around, internet, video games, etc., and start watching TV around dusk. The way our living room was set up was that there was a set of glass doors right next to the television that looked out to the back porch/backyard. The backyard was surrounded by ivy that grew on a hill around a 45-degree angle. So I'm just mindlessly channel surfing, and I see some movement outside. At first I just dismiss it thinking it's a bird or a neighborhood cat or something, but I then notice that whatever is moving is way bigger than a bird or a cat. I go and put my face near the glass and stare into the backyard, and there's some dude just crouching in the ivy looking into the house. Our eyes meet, and he has somewhat of an oh shit moment and bolts out of our yard. Scared the shit out me. Man, my house was set up in a very similar way and I have a very similar story. I grew up scared shitless that someone would come up to that glass door at night. We had vertical blinds to block out any prospective peepers, but one night, when my folks were out of town, I was up late watching TV on the couch and all of a sudden there was 2 loud knocks right on the glass. Of course my blood goes cold, but I quickly think that maybe one of my friends who know my parents are out of town snuck out and came over. I work up the courage to go slide open one of the blinds to peek out, fully expecting to see one of my friends. Standing there is some swarthy looking guy with a mustache just looking in at me. He pulls at the door but it's locked. I booked my ass straight out of the front door and ran straight to my aunt's house a few doors down. We called the police, and they said there were so many footprints in the snow that he had to have been circling around the house for hours. There was even some footprints on the roof by the master bedroom. OMG, that last part. Footprints on the roof next to the master? What the actual f***? No. Probably just casing the place. A lot of thieves will knock before trying to rob the place. They don't usually try and open the door when they realize someone's home though. A version of this happened to me once. In female, was 15 to 16 at the time, and it was Halloween. I remember feeling that sense of dread on my way home. The house was 2 stories, but only had 2 bedrooms. Most of the space was taken by the downstairs. I slept in the living room on a futon. At the far end of the room were glass doors and a patio, no blinds or anything. I was up playing video games pretty late due to that dread feeling, and laid down with my computer still on, lighting up the room. Out of nowhere someone knocks on the glass doors. I ignored them, and it got more frequent and urgent sounding. I was freaked the hell out, got up without looking at the doors, and pretended to sleepy check the front door, then ran up the stairs, and hid in the bathroom above the living room. The ventilation system was just holes in the floor with vents over them, so I could see down into the first floor. I tried to wake up my mom and said, "Someone knocked on the door." to which she basically denied that happened and went back to sleep, saying I dreamt it or something. It was quiet for a while. Then the metal spiral stairs into the basement started creaking, and I heard footsteps. By this time my computer had gone to sleep, and it was dark as f down there. Next thing I heard was my jar of pennies falling over and spilling coins everywhere. Then more silence. Stairs creaked again. Intruder left. Spooked by spare change. Checked the outside door into the basement the next day. Unlocked. Of course. When I was about 6 or 7, we had this neighbor that would regularly try to invite me over for cake and candy or to play with the dogs he owned. My parents didn't trust him, so of course, invites were declined. Years later, we learned that he regularly raped his 12-year-old stepdaughter and got her pregnant. When he went to trial, it was revealed that there were 4 other young girls in his past that he had abused. The guy used to decorate his house like a haunted mansion every Halloween, and kids would go crazy for it. I'm so glad that my parents wouldn't allow me to go there. That's disgusting. I hate that there are probably tons of monsters like that guy walking around amongst us. I was on a 15-hour bus trip from the Yucatan to Chiapas in Mexico with my family. It was late at night, and after several hours of driving we stopped at a gas station to go to the bathroom, grab snacks, etc. It would have been like any other trip, however I noticed there was an unusual amount of police. When we got back on the bus, the driver informed us that the police had received a tip that our bus was being targeted for a robbery by Mexican bandits. They would escort us. We drove and drove for hours up a nauseatingly winding road on the side of a cliff. One police truck in front of us and one behind us, armed to the nines. I was on high alert, but after a while I dozed off. That was until the bus came to an abrupt stop. I remember peering out the front window and seeing a series of large rocks placed strategically across the road. Everything was dark, save these rocks being illuminated by the bus lights. If the police hadn't been there, this is what would have went down. Step 1. Bus driver disembarks, tries to remove rocks. Step 2. Mexican bandits kill bus driver or holds hostage. Step 3. Bandits board bus. Step 4. Rob, rape, kill. I was 17 years old, white looking female, I'm a halfie, and the rest of my family is Mexican, or looks full Mexican, and even then I knew what would have happened to me. Kidnapping for ransom would definitely not have been out of the question, and rape a high guarantee. We were in the middle of nowhere on a bloody f***ing mountain. If the police weren't there, would I be here to tell this story? Probably not. I'm glad nothing happened to you. I'm Mexican, and policemen that actually help are unheard of at the moment. I've always been aware of the sad state of affairs Mexico is in, but despite coming here my whole life I've never experienced anything beyond La Policia trying to bribe me or trying to scare me into giving them money. Almost being robbed and having the police actually do something at Impo was quite the godsend. Edit. Sorry for the Spanglish. I'm in Mexico right now, and my brain is getting confuddled. Did they catch the bandits? I don't think they made any real effort to catch them. They were mostly focused on escorting and guarding us to safety. Any attempt at catching them would have involved a gunfight, and with us there that would have jeopardized that. That's good. The police's first priority should be to protect. It would have been wrong to recklessly endanger a bunch of innocents that may be catching/killing some bandits. So, this happened senior year of high school. My best friend and I were at her house, which was way up in one of the canyons, and she had a long, winding driveway. We had been there all day and her mom had gone out, and she and I were supposed to go meet a couple friends in Hollywood that night. Anyways, we had been goofing around all day and watching scary movies or whatnot, and we started to get ready. Her bathroom had one of those her double sink deals, so she was near one, and I was at the other. All of a sudden I got the creepiest feeling, like all of the hair on my arms stood up, and I had this sudden feeling of panic. To this day it is the most terrified I have ever been. I was putting on eyeliner when it happened, and I caught her eye in the mirror and said, "We need to leave. Right now." I thought she would be like, "What, you're being ridiculous," or what have you, but instead she said, "I know." My blood ran cold when she said it. We left so quickly that we just grabbed what was in front of us. We booked it out of her house and down the driveway, which we weren't supposed to be on. BC her mom had just had it repaved and her car was parked down on the street. We rounded the curve in the driveway and there was an SUV parked dead center in the middle of the street without its lights on. Suddenly, the lights turned on full blast. The SUV blared its horn and took off. We scrambled the rest of the way down, totally ruining the new paving, and were getting into her car and calling the police when her mom pulled up right behind us. To this day, I do not know if it was a robber or what, but the fact that she and I both got the sense of dread at the exact same time creeps me out to no end. Edit. Wow, I was not expecting so much interest / so many responses to this. I haven't had a chance to look at them all yet, but look forward to reading / replying this afternoon. I will say this though, my personal opinion has always been along the lines of what /you /blow and Arrange 92 said, in that whoever was in the SUV was the lookout, and he / she flipping on their brights and laying on the horn was to alert whoever else was involved that we were now outside / there had been people in the house, etc. But we'll obviously never know for sure as we saw no one else, and there were no immediate signs of anyone having tried to break in. Gut feelings are no joke. I bet the robbers were already around the house looking for a way to get in. The SUV was the lookout / getaway. When he saw the girls coming out he blared the horn as a signal that the plan was screwed and for the other guys to run away. Then he took off. The gut feeling was the girls picking up on subtle subconscious things that would alert their brains that some people were creeping around the house. Stuff you don't realize you notice consciously, but your brain still picks up on it. That's where the feeling of dread came from. Have you read The Gift of Fear? That book gets into such interesting detail about that sort of shit. Commenting so I'll remember, and to thank you. Sounds good. Definitely recommend that book. Especially for women, not sure if you are a guy or a girl, because as women, we are usually taught to be kind and gentle, which can hinder gut feelings. My mom had a stalker for years. She was maybe in her early 30s. I was about 3 and my brother was around 1 when this started. My dad would leave for work in the morning, and as soon as he was gone, the calls would start coming in. She'd answer the phone and some guy would be saying all this horribly sadistic and sexual things about what he wanted to do to my mom. She was beyond frightened and didn't know what to do. Sometimes the caller would describe what she was wearing at that very minute, or describe what she was doing. My parents were struggling financially, so they couldn't just up and move, but my mom started spending more and more time at my dad's mother's house when he was away. The cops got involved, but they couldn't trace the call. Finally, they were able to save up enough money to move. I was about 6 by this time. The phone number was changed and unlisted in the phone book. This was around 1988 when everyone still used landlines. My mom never got another scary phone call, but she had nightmares about it for years. When I was little, I remember going into her bedroom in the morning and she would be sobbing into her pillow. I didn't understand it at that point, but she explained later in life that she'd wake up from a nightmare and just shake and cry. A couple months after we had moved, the cops informed us that they finally caught the guy. It was our next door neighbor's 19-year-old son. He had been in the military, but was discharged due to severe mental illness. I guess he was put into some sort of special security home that specializes in mental health. The lead investigator said that the son was obsessed with my mother, and they found a box in his room full of a bunch of photographs candidly taken of her when she was out in the garden or playing with us kids in the yard. It chills me to the bone when I think about it now. Anything cold have happened to my mother when my dad was at work and it'd be too young to help her. That's crazy, but it must at least give you guys some relief that they actually caught the guy. Yeah, I know I think about that sometimes. I'm sure there are people who get harassed all the time and they are never able to find the culprit. Thank God, the cops were able to figure it out. I wonder what would have happened if they didn't. Would the guy somehow track us down and start harassing my mom again? Or would he had found a new target? It's so chilling to think what could have happened. When my friend's dad was around 17 years old, he decided to go camping with about 8 or so of his friends. This took place in the Wisconsin forest. When they got to the site, they decided to split up to collect firewood in groups of 2 and meet back at the site in around 20 minutes. One group wasn't back right away, and since they were a couple, they just assumed they were fornicating in some bushes and cracked a couple jokes about it. After around an hour they decided they should probably go look for them and headed off to search in the area they had been collecting wood. They saw behind a bush part of the girl's bloody shirt, and the man's shoes were lying scattered around the scene. They quickly rushed back to their car so they could drive to the park ranger's office, which was about 5 miles away, and report the incident. However, they found that their gas had been siphoned, so they had no choice but to walk. On their walk back to the office, they saw a semi pass by with one driver and 2 faces pressed up against the window, which they believe were their friends begging for help. The 2 friends were reported missing and have never been found to this day. This is terrifying. People keep asking me why I don't like to go camping. This is why.